second, I request our convener, Mr. Ajay Mahajan. He's the convener for Jalandhar Zone PhD Punjab State Chapter, and he's also the MD of OMA International Jalandhar. I request him for his welcome address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Ramiji. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this session. This session is an attempt by PhD to bring the young students together and also the intellectual mind of all the growing students who are going to be the future entrepreneurs of our country. So it's an attempt by PhD to do that. Today we have the honor to have with us Dr. Ishbir Singh. He's the Director Engineering. And also we have other eminent speakers like Engineer Ashish Kumar Bhateja. We've got Advocate Geeta Gulati ji, and we've also got Dr. Shweta Sen with us. So these are the eminent speakers that we have today. It's a, I would at the very onset like to welcome Dr. Ishbir Singh, and he's the one who's going to start the session with us today with his address. PhD has always been trying to do the best it can to bring the intellect together and also the end person to who's going to use that information. So it's a bridge between the industry and the government, and also the bridge between the industry and the established entrepreneurs and the future entrepreneurs who are going to come up with startups or who are going to come up with innovations. And along with innovation comes the thought and the idea to protect your idea and to be able to commercially market it in the best possible manner. In that scenario, I would like to first of all welcome Dr. Ishbir Singh, who's currently working as a professor, mechanical engineering and director engineering, Gulzar Group of Institutes at Khanna in Ludhiana. He's received his PhD from in mechanical engineering from Thapa University. Incidentally, Ishbir, if you're listening, that makes you and me, in a way, sharing an alma mater. So it's really nice that you're from Thapar, and I share very good memories with Thapar, having graduated from there. So it'll be very nice hearing from you. He's also an author and reviewer in high impact and reputed journals, and has filed for several patents. So it's a very interesting mix that today when we are talking about IP, and he's also filed for some patents, so it will make a very interesting mix, and we can share his knowledge and also proceed further. Dr. Ishbir, if you're there, we would like you to join us, please.
Thank you, Ajiji, for introducing me, and good to know that both of us are alma mater of Thapar University, Patiala. And the way, sir, you have started the session and ignited the spark, it is really motivating. And I'm privileged to be part of this session on interactive video conference on strategic IP and innovation management. I welcome again all the participants and delegates. And let me introduce what IIC is doing on behalf of MHRD and how IIC GGI is doing. That will be taken by my colleague Ashish Bhateja ji. So basically, MHRD, known as Ministry of Human Resource Development, established by Government of India, that is MHRD's Innovation Cell, MIC, systematically fosters the culture of innovation among higher education institutes. And the primary mandate of MIC is to encourage, inspire, and nurture young students, but supporting them to work with new ideas while they are in formative years. So MSc has always envisioned in creation of IICs across all the higher education institutes, and a network of these IICs has been established to promote the innovation in the institutions among the budding engineers and to make them understand how this interdisciplinary research and the intellectual or the reservation of intellectual property is there. And sorry, I'll like to correct you. I have filed 8 patents till now. And with Ashish ji, we are progressing towards more patents. So basically, this IIC and MHRD has helped us a lot in learning how to register our ideas on our names. And this is how we learned how to file patents and how to get registered the intellectual property on our name, which normally European or US, European countries or US used to lead. Now, I'm happy to know that India is progressing in terms of patents and filing the technologies on their name. Basic or the major focus of institutions innovation council is to create a vibrant local innovation ecosystem, to start up entrepreneurship supporting mechanisms in higher education institutes, to prepare the institutes for Atal ranking of institutions on innovative achievements, to establish the function ecosystem for scouting ideas and pre-incubation of ideas, to develop a better cognitive ability among the technical students. Obviously, IICs promote innovation in the institutions through different kind of modes, and one of the mode we are having today, and enlightened people and great panelists we are having in this session to identify and reward the innovations and share success stories of successful people. Being a part of this, long back, I came to know that in 1992, Michael Jackson, who was a singer, musician, lyricist, was also an innovator also, because in 1992 he filed a US patent, and in 1993 he was granted the US patent. So it's really a motivating part that people like Michael Jackson were also innovators. IIC keeps on organizing periodic workshops, seminars, interactive sessions with entrepreneurs, investors, professionals, and they definitely create a mentor pool for student innovators. So they help us in networking with peers and national entrepreneurship development organizations, and IICs under MHRD keep on organizing hackathons, idea competitions, mini challenges, etc., with the involvement of renowned industrialists and academicians. And industry also takes the benefit of these hackathons and these idea competitions, and proud to share that e-rickshaw was an idea of the students which was being brought to production, and now most of us use e-rickshaws. So this was basically the idea that came from students, and students modeled and came out with this project. And thanks to IIC always supporting students in these kind of events. So students and faculty, how they benefit IIC, how they give benefit to students and faculty, because when students and faculty get associated with IIC, we get exclusive opportunities to participate in various innovation related initiatives and competitions organized by MHRD, which gives us a national and global exposure and help our students and faculty to win exciting prizes, certificates, etc. on monthly basis. And obviously, these kind of meetings and interactions with renowned business leaders and top-notch academicians bring us to a new level and show us the torch and the light to excel in the life. Opportunities to nurture and come out with prototypes, new ideas that has ignited a torch among a young generation. So mentoring by industry professionals has always been helpful to our students and faculty, and obviously the experimentation with the latest technologies and visit to many places and learn new cultures always help our students and give them great kind of exposure. So without taking much of the time, I'll hand over the stage to the next speaker, and thanks to PhD Chamber of Commerce for inviting such kind of panelists and giving exposure to not only to the students and faculty of Gulzar Group of Institutes, but a whole of the nation. Please keep on organizing these kind of activities in COVID era, because these days making teaching effective has always been a challenge, and ISC has helped us in keeping our students motivated, and proud to share that our students in these tough times, even they have started developing their own small mini labs at their homes, and they are assembling and disassembling the small projects and coming out with some kind of prototypes. So thanks once again to all of you. And that's all from my side. All the best. And I hope this event will be a grand success and help us towards to learn. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashbir. Thank you very much. I'm sure the students are going to benefit from this. And I'm sure someday we'll sit together and talk about your 8 patents, and we'll get a chance to learn about them. And I'm glad that you're participating, you're associating with the Ministry of Human Resource and Development, and the Institute is doing projects, and the students are showing a keen interest. It is really heartening to hear that. At this stage, I would like to introduce Dr. Engineer Ashish Bateja. He's currently working as the head of Department Automation and Robotics. And he's also from the same institute, from the Gulzar Group of Institutes. He's received his MTech from Mechanical Engineering Department, National Institute of Technology, Jalandhar. So I am from Jalandhar, and he's done his engineering from Jalandhar. So it's a coincidence that we're sharing two relations. And I would like to welcome Dr. Ashish Bateja at this moment to share his thoughts with us.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for your invitation, and thank you, Ishbir sir, for the brief introduction of the IIC GGI. So, as sir already told you, what is the main objective of this IIC GGI? We are working very hard and dedicatedly with our students, faculty, and under the mentorship of Dr. Ishbir sir. He is always supporting and guiding us how student can bring their innovation to the patent level. That is why our today objective is to conduct this interactive session in association with your organization. So I have a small glimpse to present in front of you, because we want to showcase how working how in past few years we are very small baby, but we are very effective, and we are not underestimate by the audience or the society, because we are working hard. So I want to showcase our glimpse from 2018 establishment to till date, whatsoever the activity we organize, at various locations we participated, and at various places we also get a achievement also. So kindly allow me to share screen so that I can showcase the glimpse of this IIC GGI from 2018 to till date, sir. So I'm just sharing my screen with all the audience. I hope my screen is visible to all of you. And please allow me to play. My screen is visible to all of you, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm playing. We show the entire picture of the IIC now. Just a minute. Sorry for interruption. I just playing once again. Thank you, sir.
Ashish, would you be continuing?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. My presentation is over. Thank you so much for allowing me to share screen and to show the glimpse of all the activities. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Ashish. It was a nice glimpse of what you're doing and what the institute has been doing, and it is nice to know that you have this, institutions innovation council, and in which you're doing various activities in which the students are participating and learning how to innovate. The purpose for today's seminar seems to be more on the stress that once you've innovated, once you've developed a product, how to be able to commercially market it, how to be able to make money out of it, and how to protect your interest once you've decided to do that. So the tournaments that you and the concepts that you learn at the various institutes and at various colleges, if you come up with an innovative idea, you would want to protect that idea and make some money out of it. Now, that is where the linkage comes in, and that is where we take it one step further. And at this stage, I would like to welcome Advocate Geeta Gulati ji, who would probably run us through, the matters of how, once we've made a decision to go ahead with an idea, how to protect that idea. Geeta ji is an advocate and intellectual property rights consultant, and she practices in corporate and commercial litigation, and also both domestic and international arbitration. I'm sure with her vast experience, she'll be able to guide the students on how to protect their innovation and how to be able to, manage that innovation in a commercial sense. May I please welcome Geeta Gulati ji.
Thank you, sir. A very warm good morning to all of you, and big congratulations to Dr. Ishvi for filing patent. In the last session, one of the speaker told us that China, our neighbor, is filing a lot of patents. So actually, he threw a challenge at all of us that in India, we need to catch up. So it is good to know that Dr. Ishvi has already filed. So we are doing a bit. But I think we need to really catch up China. So today morning, I'll be talking about, as Mahajan sir said, we'll be talking about how to protect ideas and then how to commercialize it. Now, students, all of you are at the shoal of your career. Now you need to decide what you want to do. Do you want to be like another Vijay Shekhar, Bhavesh Agarwal, Dipinder Goyal, or you want to join some organization and work for them all your life? It's going to be your decision. Now, what is exciting about all these entrepreneurs is, they are not just scaled up their businesses, they themselves have grown. When they started their business, what they were and what they are now, you see their growth and, you're amazed. Now, what is the success formula behind their organization? One of the success is their intellectual property. So when Alibaba is investing in Paytm, when Dipinder Goyal is going and filing IPO, how do they get their valuation? So one of the components of valuation of any organization would be in their intellectual property. So let's start from the very beginning. So, I visited your website and I saw that you are doing a lot of research work. Now, when you're doing this research work and say you happen to come up with some idea, or you come up with some project where you feel that you have actually invented something new which was not there in public domain, what are you going to do with it? So one is that you have an idea which nobody has worked on. You don't have anything but just an idea. What will you do with that? Just simply go and file your provisional application with Indian Patent Office. Wait for 1 year, complete your innovation, make any amendments that you want to, and then you file your complete specification, and then your application would be examined. And if the examiner feels, patent office feels that there is an invention, the patent will be granted to you. The other is that you've already developed something. It's not an idea, but you've already developed, and you feel while you were researching that you have come up with something new, or you have come up with some inventive step. Now, what is the difference between invention and inventive step? Let's understand that. Invention is something new which was not known to the public. An inventive step is that already public knew about it, but you have brought some inventive step in that process or in the product. So for both you can file patents. And when your product is ready, you don't have to waste time. You can file complete specification right away. Then your application will be examined, and in the due course, you will get your patent. Of course, there are various challenges during the process of getting patent. The examiner may feel that your patent is not an innovation, or certain things that you are claiming in your application are not patentable or not an invention. Then you need to convince the officer that your invention is actually an invention, and you will get the patent. The other challenge that you might face is that somebody may object. Somebody may say, somebody amongst the general public may say that your invention is not new. You have copied someone's invention. Then again, you will have to fight for your application. So this is a process. It will, in the course of time, you will get it. Now, the most important question is, when do you start manufacturing your product? As per law, you cannot file patent if it is already in public domain. If it is in public domain, you will not get it. Or you feel that some invention might happen in between. So what can you do? Now there are two ways. Sorry, Navneet? Yeah, so I'll continue. So there are two ways of commercially exploiting it. One is that you enter into a license agreement with some other business entities, and they will take your product, pay you license fees, and they will manufacture and sell the product. The other is that you enter into a royalty agreement. So you will have to see what is your business, what is your situation, and what you are aiming at. Once you are clear about it, accordingly the agreement can be drafted. I'll give you an example. One of our clients, they have technology in India, and they wanted to enter into a joint venture agreement with an African country. So the reason is because in African country, they don't have that kind of technology. So we entered into an agreement. It was a joint venture that will manufacture it in your country. You will invest in that project. I am not investing as an Indian party. I'm only giving you technology. And on every product that you sell, you are going to give me this percentage of money. That is a royalty. So these kind of agreements can be entered. Now, there's one concept that I want to discuss here with you, which is very, very relevant today. That is compulsory licensing of patent. Now, when do we do compulsory licensing? If you are reading newspapers and listening to news, you would know that for Covaxin, Indian government is fighting for compulsory license. Now, what is this? Whenever for social cause, somebody has invented, the cost of that invention is going to be high. The concept of commercial there's some disturbance in me.
I also see.
Okay, so so the concept of compulsory licensing is that you give license to other business entities who can manufacture the product to bring the cost of that product down, so that it reaches out to other people. Now, in the case of Covaxin, you know that we are 130 lakhs population. So it's not possible for two institutes to manufacture the vaccine. So when this compulsory license is given to other pharmaceutical companies, they will manufacture it and they will bring the cost of the product down, so that anybody can go and actually buy it, or the volume increases so that we are able to vaccinate other citizens. Now here I can give you another example. The next threat that we feel is going to come is going to be the climate change, which will add to our miseries. Now, if you have invented something which helps the humanity to come over the challenges of climate change, there the concept of compulsory licensing will come. If you have invented something which is for the good of humanity, then you will have to compulsorily license your invention to other manufacturers so that they can manufacture and it can go to the rest of the humanity. So this is the concept of compulsory licensing. Now, the second intellectual property that I want to discuss with you is very interesting. Now you have manufactured your product, you have patented your, you have come upon an idea and you have registered your patent. Now, when you go to market, how will consumer come to know about your product? They will come to know from the name of your product. So as a consumer, when you are in some supermarket, how do you identify any product? When you're looking at soaps, detergents, when you're looking at ice creams, how do you pick it up? You pick it up from the brand, from the name. That name is, you are so familiar with that name that you identify it from the trade dress and you pick it up. So what is this? The name or the trade dress, what is it? The intellectual property behind this is called trademark, which is very important if you want to sell your product. So at that point of time, you need another intellectual property so that you can reach to consumers, that is trademark. So as I said, trademark has components, the name, the color, and the logo. Now logo, is so it's so vital for your product that from distance that this is now if you see McDonald's when you're on highway, this is where you're going to get McDonald's. You identify Domino's from their logo, the way Domino's is written. So the way you write the name is logo, or you can have a different design of a logo like Audi. Now if you see Audi, it has 4 circles, and looking at it, you know that you're looking at Audi. So what is the process of registering now? The first thing that you need to do, which we always tell our clients, is do your thorough search, whether the name is available or not. Once you are sure that this name is available, you file the application, and in one application you can claim for the name, color, and logo. The process is very simple. The government of India has made process, streamlined the process so that you get it as quickly as possible. You just have to share with the registry your the evidence that you are actively using this mark. And if you are not infringing on any other mark, your name is not similar to any other name, you will get the trademark. So when I say it should not be similar to other names, is like, what Zomato is doing. So say you want to, somebody thinks that let me gain on the popularity of this name. So what they do, instead of Zomato, they write Momato, which is very phonetically sounding name. So the consumer may get confused. Now I change one alphabet, but the way I write Momato is very similar to Zomato. Now consumer is going to get confused. Looking at it, if somebody is not looking at it very carefully, they may end up buying the wrong product. Now there are genuine cases where, at a retail shop, the original product of Nike is not sold. It's a fake product. If you go to Ray-Ban, this actually happened with me also once. I also picked up a product which was not Ray-Ban. It was a fake product. Now, as a consumer, looking at it, sometimes you may not realize you're picking the right product. But, and who ends up losing? The original inventor, the original creator of that name gets affected. The business gets affected because someone else is trying to gain on their goodwill. So this is the importance of trademark. Now, once you've got your trademark is going to remain valid for 10 years. And after 10 years, you can get it renewed any number of times. This is not like patents that once you've got the patent, after 20 years, compulsorily it will go into public domain. It's not so in trademarks. But what you can do, as I initially told you about patents, you can also license the name of your trademark, or you can assign it. These are different rights. There are certain rights that you give. Now, again, it all depends how you want to go about your business. What is your requirement? Accordingly, we'll advise you whether you should go for licensing agreement or you should go for assignment of your trademark. Now, you see most of the MNCs who are operating in India, or most of the Indian companies who have their businesses outside India, how are they using their trademarks? Again, there are two ways. Either you yourself go and register it in that particular country, or if you don't want to do business in that country yourself, you don't have that state to do it, you license it or you assign it to some other organization. So they will file it in their particular country, but you are giving them right only to use for particular products, for particular circumstances. For very particular things, you will give that these are the things that you can do with my trademark. Now, the third intellectual property which I want to discuss with you is copyright. Now, let's first understand what is the copyright. Very simply, copyright is in something, it's actually in expression. The expression could be the way you have written something, the way you are speaking something, the way you are projecting some project, like we had seen Dr. Ashi's slides. So the slides that he has compiled, it is his expression. So if it is an expression, it can be copyrighted. It is his copyright. You have copyright in softwares. So in India, the software can only be copyrighted. It will not be patented like in US. Our rights are limited. We are unable to patent the software in India. We can do the patent only when software is embedded in a hardware. So if you have invented something where your software is a new invention and that software is embedded in a hardware, you can file for that patent. Otherwise, it's only going to be copyrighted. So when you see apps of Zomato, when you see apps of, when you see Flipkart, you see Amazon, you see Nykaa, these are all the expressions and their websites and apps can be copyrighted. Now, why is copyright important? When you have registered your patent, when you have registered the trademark, which is so important for a consumer, why would you do the copyright? Now, the copyright is, why it is important is because it's the original work, you want to copyright. That's the criteria for copywriting. Say, you have done research, but that research material is also your original work, not just the product that you have invented, which you will manufacture in the factory. Also, that research can be registered as.
Ma'am, you got unmuted.
Yeah, I didn't do it. I don't know how I got muted. Sorry. So you can, that work also is copyrighted. Now, we have been interacting with a lot of researchers in the various institutes, and this is what the professors and teachers tell us, that, we don't know how to register our research. That research, that the time that you take to compile it, that is copyrightable. And you should copyright, because say something happens. Now, as I was telling you, when you file patent, the examiner may raise an objection that this is not an invention. Then your research work can actually help you in convincing the patent examiner that this is my invention there and this is how I have reached this point. And if you have already copyrighted, that means you have registered one of your intellectual property. Now, the best part about copyright is that it is for the lifetime of the author. So whosoever is creating a copyright is the author, and it is it's one-time registration, and after the death of the author is going to be 60 years. I think now it's 50 years. So anyways, but it's a long time, and automatically it gets registered in more than 130 countries. So you don't have to take tension of registering it in other countries. So that is the positive point of copyright. Now another concept of copyright is who owns the copyright, especially in the case of institutions where, say, for research project, the institution is investing the money, or say you are working for some organization and that organization is investing the money, and as an employee you have created something. So who will own the copyright? So the law has demarcated that. Law is very clear on it that if somebody is investing and if there is no agreement between the two parties, the copyright will go to the organization who has invested in the research. And where the organization has not invested and you are an independent person and you have created something new, like you have clicked pictures and then you go and give it to some so the creator of those photographs is you. So when you're going to the magazine, the magazine will actually pay you. Now it's going to be your right whether you are giving the entire right to the magazine or you want to keep something with you. That is a decision that you as a creator going to take. And the last intellectual property that I want to discuss for today is industrial design. So as the name says, industrial design, I'm sure you have understood. Any product that you're manufacturing in a factory which has a design, that design can be registered as industrial design. For example, you have come up with a new design of cycle, and as Dr. Ishmi was saying, he shared with us about e-rickshaw. So the design of e-rickshaw which you are drawing on your computer can be registered as industrial design. Sorry, that design would be which you have drawn on computer would be copyrighted, but the design that is used in manufacturing that e-rickshaw would be industrial design. So for industrial design, what is important is that that design is actually used to manufacture the product in the factory. Once it is manufactured, it can be registered as an industrial design. And the only drawback of industrial design is that once you have registered it, the criteria of registering it that it should be something new which was not known to the public before. You can only renew it for one time. After that, you cannot. And the other drawback is that if you have manufactured more than around 50 products, then you cannot again register the industrial design. So actually that's a limitation. So therefore you would see that most of the organizations don't go and file for industrial design, but what they do, they file for copyright and they get a right over that drawing. Now, there are two more things that I want to discuss with you. What happens if somebody takes your intellectual property? What rights do you have then? Now, all the intellectual property, now your product, it's not that it has only one intellectual property. It may have patent, it may have trademark, copyright, and industrial design. 4 or 3 or all 4. Now, what do you do? Now, looking at the circumstances, you will have to decide whether you want to give some time to the other party or there is no time. When you feel that there is no time and the other party may go to market and sell the product, you can immediately go and register a criminal complaint. Now, police under both trademark law and copyright law, they have this power to do the search and seizure without any warrants, which means Technically, what it means is that they don't have to go anywhere. You just go and register the complaint with the police. You show them that this is your product and you show the counterfeit product of the other party. Counterfeit product means that somebody is actually is copying the product. I'll give you another example. Now, this is very prevalent in Punjab. Castrol's products are sold as counterfeit. Now, what these people do, they take the packing of Castrol and inside it, actually the product of Castrol is not there. It's a counterfeit product. Now, if you come to know about it, that this is what is happening, and it may happen now because we need vaccine for corona. So somebody may sell counterfeit product. So what can you do? You go to police, you give them your product, you show them the counterfeit product. On the basis of that or that evidence, they will go to the premises where this is manufactured. They will go there, they will do the search, and then they will seize the product. And once they have seized it, they will go to magistrate and they will take order for destruction of this counterfeit product. That is the criminal procedure that you can follow. The other thing is that you send them a legal notice. You say that you are infringing my product and you stop infringing it. Sometimes the other party gives an undertaking and they stop. But when they don't stop, you can go to court, you can file for injunction. Injunction means that you're asking court that this party is infringing my product, give me an order so that they can stop manufacturing and selling this product. This is called infringement. Then you can also seek for damages. Damages is that this person has gained from my goodwill and made profit. That profit should be returned to me. And you can also seek for destruction of the product. So all these rights are given to you under the law. This is what you can do. Now let's discuss another thing. Maybe by mistake, you have copied someone else's product. What will happen then if they come after you? Now in that scenario where unknowingly if you have done, you can give an undertaking and you can return. But knowingly you should never copy. That is why we keep telling you, do the search for patents also, for trademark also. Once you've done your search, only then you register it. Or do your research and then go into the market. Otherwise, you can be in big trouble. And as I told you, for trademarks, you have to be very careful that the name should not be same or similar to the other party. And the reason also is very important because trademark is the name by which consumers get attracted to your product. They identify your product. You're also a consumer of so many products and you know how you identify it. So this is the reason why it is so important. So I think I'll pause here and I'll request students to ask questions if they have any doubts, and I'll be happy to address all. Thank you.
Thank you, Geeta ji. What we can do is we can probably have the questions once we've had Shweta ji do a presentation, and then we can take the questions all collectively. But I must, say there's something that you've brought up today, which is very relevant. And who would have thought that when we're talking about patent and innovations, that it would have something to do with the pandemic that we are going through at the moment. So it's a very interesting thought. And that is how we say that, things move in a gel. Everything is connected with everything else. So something as different as an intellectual property right could be associated with something like corona. And the first thought that comes is, yes, probably the vaccine that is being made would be patented and the property right would apply to that. Very interesting that you've talked about is the compulsory licensing, which is a very, very relevant topic and which is a very hot topic today. Even the Supreme Court is talking about it. So it makes, though it goes against the spirit of patenting, but we have to understand that when the patent law is made, it is made for the purpose of, for the humanity to be able to progress properly and in a very, systematic manner. Your invention is protected because that needs to be protected, and so that you are motivated to innovate and make money out of it. That is what will motivate you to do an innovation. But if the public demands, or if it is in the interest of the country, or if it is in the interest of the world that this invention should be shared, then it is shared. So that is why. So now you have, I mean, there are three things that Geeta ji talked about here. Were three main topics. I mean, or rather four of them. The patent, which has a 20-year limitation, which would mean that after 20 years, it will be thrown open to the public. This is done because even though there is a patent, for 20 years, you're given a time to exploit it and to be able to use it in the best possible manner and to help humanity. After that, the patent law, is no longer applicable on it. For example, if you see Windows XP came, and after that, it is no longer protected, and they move on to a different version of the Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows 11. So they keep doing it because after a while, the patent law would stop to apply onto that. Now, on the compulsory licensing part, it is, all the countries. The other aspect that you need to understand is that all the intellectual property laws do not work in isolation. Intellectual property laws work across the world. And under the WTO, the World Trade Organization, there is something called a TRIPS agreement, that the trade-related aspects of intellectual property, which is also very important for the students to understand that once they go on to a global stage, they have to understand that there are international agreements that come and that play a role into all this. And under that, if we are going to do, we are going to have a compulsory licensing where we are trying to say what it means is that somebody else can also manufacture the same drug. And when they manufacture, they can do it at a lesser price because they would not be bearing the cost of research. So they'll be able to offer to the public at a lesser price. And so in our, Indian Patent Act, there's a section 92 which allows you to the central government to take over in case of an epidemic. And this one is a pandemic, so it could very well be. And in fact, our Supreme Court is saying that we should be doing this. The whole purpose of telling you this is that the intellectual property law is not just a law for people who are intellectuals or just for the business, but it also affects the day-to-day life of each one of us, and also in these difficult times. At this stage, I would like to welcome Dr. Shweta Sen. Dr. Shweta Sen is a Indian patent agent with elaborate experience in patent and trademark filing systems, strategies, and patent law. She possesses a doctorate degree in biotechnology and is a postgraduate diploma in intellectual property laws. Currently, she's working as head IPR with Integrum IP Mohali. Shweta ji, would you please join us?
Thank you, Mr. Mahajan, for kind words. Is my screen visible?
It is.
Yes, okay.
Well, it's still loading, I suppose, but it's not come
Now
up.
we get to share the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it visible now?
No.
No?
Presentation is not there. We can see the screen. Yeah, ma'am, we can see now.
Okay. So I'll start my presentation. Role of IP in innovation management, challenges and prospects. Geeta ma'am has already discussed in a very good manner about all the intellectual property types, patents, copyright, and all. So I'll skip this part. Now, next, is IP protection important? Yes, it is. Everyone of us know. Why? Because it deters competitors from copying your idea. Yes, can generate revenue, can attract investors. But being a student, how can this IP help you? One thing which is very, very, I can say, can help you in your career also, it gives a special weightage in your CV. If you write patent guaranteed or patent pending, it means you stand out of crowd if you have something like this. So yes, it gives you protection, it gives you revenue, it can help you start a business, and it can help you in getting a good placement also. Now, what if you don't go for IP registration. सोचो मुझे नहीं करना है, आप सोचें आपने एक बिजनेस एस्टेब्लिश करना है, और या फिर थिंक अदरवाइज यू हैव एन आइडिया, आप सबसे डिस्कस कर देते हैं, आप यू टेल एवरीबॉडी, यू डोंट गेट इट पेटेंटेड or you don't get it protected in any form of intellectual property. What will happen? You have a herbal cosmetic cream, or for engineering students, say you have idea or you have invention for a hybrid engine which works on electricity, on fuel, on sunlight, on water, on everything, which can be an evolution, a revolution in today's market, and you disclose it with your friends, or you start selling it with some name, say Sarve. Your product becomes a hit in the market, and someone very close to you, maybe it is your friend, your colleague, or someone third party, also starts using your product with different names, Sarvin, without your permission, and you have not protected your idea. Now what? Can you stop that person? No. Maybe you can stop him or her from using name Sarvin, but you cannot stop the person using that technology which you have developed. So what will happen? This is this brief summary. If you don't patent your invention, competitors may well take advantage of it. Competitors can be anyone. If the product is successful, many other competitors will be tempted to make same product, and they need not to ask a permission. They don't have to give you any penny, and your hard work, it is your hard work, your time, your money, and others will be using it for the free. Larger enterprises who have good which have great economies, which have everything, which has good infrastructure, can scale up your product without using your permission. Small industries will also benefit. The only one who will not be benefited will be you. Now the question is, okay, now what should I do? First thing, what type of product you have, what type of IP you have. Maybe it is a product, and does it do something functional? Functional means that maybe it is it is a product, it is a process, it is some new technology like a hybrid engine you have made, or you invented it, or you invented with a friend or faculty or teacher. Then you can go for the patent for patent protection with your faculty or the someone who helped it in developing this. Or is it something which is which has some ornamental value, aesthetic, visual, which is something you can see from the naked eye, it is different. It has an aesthetic value, so it will go for the copyright law, or it can go for the design, industrial design. If it is something related to literary work or something, your music or something, it will be copyright product. It is software, it will be copyrighted. If it is something which is related to design, industrial design, it will be protected under the industrial design law. If it is something brand, as Geeta ma'am was discussing, it will be protected by the trademark. And if something is to be kept secret, it will be secret and it will be a trade secret. However, the trade secret law is not fully functional in India. These are some of the examples. If you don't take the intellectual property, you can be in a problem. Like Big Basket has sent an infringement notice to Daily Basket. Daily Basket is a startup which was established in 2020, and on the very outset, it got an infringement notice from the giant like Big Basket. Similarly, the other examples you can see on the screen. Now, the next thing is, this is clear that if you have something which is innovative, which needs to be protected, you have to protect it, otherwise somebody will get the benefit. Now, how one must proceed? Very first one is search and analysis. What is search and analysis? Search is, like Geeta ma'am was telling you, that for the patent, it has to be novel. Novel means nobody has disclosed it in the whole world. and it has to be analyzed that whether it comes under patentable subject matter or whether it can be trademarked or copyrighted. For the patent I will discuss, it has in Indian patent law, there are some restrictions that some things, whether it is novel or not, cannot be patented. For example, these are few examples I've taken, like any invention which is frivolous. You come up with a machine which says it has perpetual motion, it gives 100% it has 100% efficiency, or it gives full output without zero input. So that which is frivolous and contrary to the well-established natural laws. So this is not patentable. It is if you come up with some machine which is useful in gambling, which is useful in breaking in a house, in a theft, or in food adulteration, which is contrary to morality or public order, is not patentable. Mere discovery of a scientific principle or formula, not patentable. Mere admixture, you mix, some say you mix ginger, garlic, some cardamom, or you make a kada and you come up with, say, this is effective against COVID. No, this is not patentable subject matter because it is just the mixing. So mere admixture, mere mixture is not patentable in subject matter. Arrangement or rearrangement or duplication of known devices. You come up with the idea that you have joined a torch to an umbrella. Torch and umbrella were working very good individually also, and you join them together and say, okay, this is an umbrella with a torch. No, this is just the rearrangement of already known devices. This is not patentable. However, if you come up with this thing, like this is everybody knows, this is a bag with the tires, trolley bag. Bags, briefcase, suitcase were already existing. Somebody come up with this idea that it put the tires to it, but putting tires on this trolley bag was not very simple. It has some technical aspects were involved. So it became a subject matter. Tires and bags were functional individually already, but just to join these, and there were some technical inputs involved, so it became a subject matter, a patentable subject matter. Mathematical or business method or a computer program is not patentable. Any mental act or method of playing game that you say, I have devised a method which by which you can win a game of chess. No, it is not patentable subject matter. Or traditional knowledge like turmeric, neem, or anything which you know in household is used to treat a particular disease is not patentable subject matter. The next thing is, once you know that novelty is there, it doesn't come under any non-patentable subject matter, then go for patent drafting or trademark filing, registration. Once you get a patent, you can start writing the patent pending, which will deter all your copying competitors from you. And then you have to protect your brand and you have to enforce your brand. You have to keep away all the infringers from your brand and always keep a record of your IP. Once this was involved in the protection, once it is registered, you have to keep a tab on the renewals. You have to think that whether you have to license it or assign it to somebody. License is something which is like rent. You can rent your property, like you rent your house to somebody. So that is licensing. Licensing is of two types, mostly the exclusive and non-exclusive. Exclusive, say, you give a house to a tenant and the whole house is of the tenant is exclusive. You give your patent or trademark to one company or one person. He will be using it. No other will be using it, but the owner will be you. Assignment is completely giving. It is like selling your patent or trademark, your IP, to a person or a company. That is assignment. Now you have a IP. You may have some patents, like you can have many patents, you can have many trademarks, industrial designs, copyrights, you can have lots of IP, but how to manage that IP in your company, in your university, or anywhere. So next step, which comes after you have got the IP, is IP management. Now, what is this IP management? It is set of actions which allows you to organize your IP in efficient manner, so that you can have higher prices than the competitors, and it improves your market share, and it can also help you sustain lower cost than the competitors. So this is how you can, this is already discussed, capturing market share. Now, this is very relevant to the universities. Universities and institutes have a brain, and they keep on inventing things. Industry, which can commercialize things, but they don't have new ideas. And there is a disconnect between the two, and where whole of the IP, intellectual property, whole of the hard work goes into the death valley. So there must be a proper management in all the institutes and industries, so that there is proper procurement of the IP, and there's commercialization of the IP. There is a IP should not be stacked, and it should not be kept as such. It has to be commercialized. So what does IP, how to manage IP? These are the 5 steps. Make time to get smart on your IP, identify IP assets, link IP strategy to business objectives, assess vulnerability, and maintain clarity of ownership rights. Make time to get smart on your IP. There must be IP awareness in institutes. The employees, the management must have little awareness about the IP. Then, if there is awareness, there one must identify the what IP assets we have. There can be patents, copyrights, trademarks, and designs, which we have already discussed. Then once it is decided that what type of IP you have, you must devise a IP strategy. It can be defensive, offensive, or just for the commercialization. Defensive is like, okay, I have to just protect my patents, my inventions. I need not to, I don't have anything to do with the other parties. Offensive is you have to build up, it is like you build a barrier to block competitors from gaining entry into your proprietary technology, which is mostly adopted by the large companies. And some companies or some institutes just keep on getting patents or trademarks, so that they can sell it, license it to earn revenues, generate revenues. So these are the 3 IP strategies. Once everything is done, assess vulnerability also that you must do the freedom to operate. Then what is this freedom to operate search? Okay, you are enforcing your IP, you are not letting others copy your IP, but it may happen that your product is infringing someone other's live patents or live intellectual property. So you must also do this freedom to operate search, which will tell you that you are not, whether you are infringing or not infringing some others intellectual property. Now this is very important. There must be a proper paperwork. There must be a proper clarity of ownership rights. There must be the written agreements. Any intellectual property created pre-incorporation of a startup or a company should be transferred to the company by written agreement. All employees should sign confidentiality and invention assignment agreements. All consultants, independent contractors should sign agreements. Any business partners or joint development efforts should clearly articulate the ownership rights. So what does this mean? This means that if you're disclosing your idea to some other, any third party or anyone, you must get signed this non-disclosure agreement, which totally says that you are disclosing your product or process on a condition, and second party or third party should not disclose your product or process to anyone without your prior permission. And this is to summarize the points to remember: that always check trademark databases to avoid using an existing trademark and protect trademarks before launching a new product or service. Identify patentable subject matter and make
Ma'am, we can hear you.
connection.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
You can proceed, please.
Yeah. So this is I was discussing. This is my last point, that if you are unsure about how to best protect a company's tangible, intangible assets, conducting an IP audit may be a good step to identify all your company's valuable information and to develop an IP strategy. And with this, I finish my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shwetaji. It's been an interesting session. I'm sure the students would have benefited from it. Just to recap onto what we've gone through, I do understand that most of the students and most of the audience that we have are engineering students, and their innovation would be more inclined towards industrial design and probably things that they could be patented. So just so that, when you're a student and when you're trying to innovate, the biggest thing from you is to be able to differentiate between the different IP sectors in which you could get your registration under. So it's very important that you understand the difference between a patent, a trademark, a copyright, and a trade design. So the four important aspects of them, and they're mutually exclusive, and it is important for you to understand that under what you are going to apply. As an engineering student, if you're going to develop something, like let's say as a mechanical engineer, if you want to develop a differential, or if you want to develop a carburetor, which is going to be increasing the efficiency, or if it is any industrial product that you're developing, obviously you would go in for a patenting. Once you patent it, then comes the commercial aspect of it, which could probably be covered under a trademark and a copyright. Likewise, so as far as your technology is concerned, today you are in a stage as students who are going to be entrepreneurs, you're in this innovation stage. So you're in a stage wherein you could develop something as an engineering student that could probably be patented, or there could be an industrial design onto it. Thereafter, once you decide to market it, then you would need support for protection through further trademark and or copyright. Or alternatively, if there would have been people amongst you who have an intellectual bent, who are authors or who sing and compose, you would probably be covered under the aspect of the copyright. So these are different things that you need to understand and make the best use of what is best applicable to it. In case of any doubt, or in case you have any reservations, that is why PhD is organizing this session today, and we have introduced experts to you who could properly guide you and do the hand holding for you to best protect your interest. The idea for today's seminar is to give you an opportunity and for you to lay out a path in which you can best make use of the resources that are out there. And it is a partnership between the industry organization, the industry, the intellectuals, and also the academic. So it is a combination of all. So at this stage, if there are any questions, we can take those and we can ask the experts to answer those questions. Are there any questions or any doubts that the students would want to put forth?
Yeah, we request startups to kindly show a raise of hand. We can unmute you and you can ask your query, or alternate ways to put your query in chat box. We can take up the queries. We can't see any raise of hand.
Well, I can see one question. This is from Professor Dr. Sunita Rani. It's good afternoon, sir. Want to know about the period of licensing maximum. So I do understand that what the question is that what is the period? How long is a patent applicable? How long is a trademark applicable? How long is a copyright applicable? I like one of the experts, probably either Geeta ji or Shweta ji, to answer that. Though Geeta ji did bring up in her presentation, but if you can briefly let the participant know about this.
So the period of licensing is entirely up to you. You need to see, first of all, what is your IP, what is the time left for your IP, and what do you want to do with your IP. It's entirely going to be your decision. Law is not saying it has to be minimum for this and this period. Shweta, you want to add something to this?
No, ma'am, that is fine.
Okay. I'll probably add, if I understood the question correctly, probably what the question might have been was like, if you want to patent, it's going to be probably 20 years, if that's what what the question is. If it's going to be trademark, it's going to be 10 years, and in those trenches, it could go on indefinitely. After every 10 years, you would have to renew it. In case of copyright, depending on what you are going to choose, whether what intellectual property you are referring to, there will be different time frames that come into play. For a patent, it is going to be 20 years. For a trademark, it is going to be 10 years, renewed after every 10 years for lifetime. For a copyright, it is going to be for your lifetime, and then thereafter, depending on the literary input, whether it's a song, whether it's a book, so anywhere between 50 to 60 years, it will be there, depending on what your intellectual property is. So it is in your best interest to decide wherein you want your registration, and this the conflict actually comes between the trademark and the copyright, because the trademark, though it offers you a wider protection. Let me take an example of the let's say. Trademark, you are able to register the word, for example, Wrangler. If you're able to register under the trademark, then the copyright would protect you the way Wrangler is written. For example, Levi's, the way Levi's is written, but you could also have the protection for your trademark. For example, your trademark is Wrangler or Levi's. You could have protection in both trademark and copyright. There is nothing stopping you from having one. So, but when you've had a trademark thing, then nobody can write the word Wrangler by itself. But whereas when you have a copyright thing, nobody can write it in that particular way that you write this. So that is the difference. In one, you are getting a 10-year protection renewed up and then indefinitely for the lifetime. The other is for your lifetime and thereafter. So that's the probably the answer they would be looking for. But is there any other questions we could take that?
If I can add to it further, let's take example of McDonald's. Now, McDonald's company which is operating in India is not the parent company. Now, parent company of US has given license to Indian company. Now, this Indian company, what they do, after every 10 years, they renew the trademark. So, the thing is, you will have to decide what you want to give, how much you want to give is going to be your goals, and accordingly, the agreement can be drafted.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, sir. Am
Yes,
I audible?
Please go ahead.
Sir, but
Yes, you are audible. Please
what
go
do
ahead.
you mean by granted patent? Patent with grant.
So I think this is a very interesting question. What is a granted patent and what is the difference between filing of patent and granted patent? So you will hear many people, they will say, I have filed patent. So filing patent only gives you a legal right. You are not the legal, you don't have the legal ownership of that patent. So the ownership will come once the patent is granted to you.
No, actually, I'm talking about the fund, means money, which is involved, that somebody is funding that patent related.
Okay. All right. So this is like Gulzar Institute. Okay, let's take an example. Gulzar Institute is funding the research. Okay.
Right,
And you come up with something new, some new invention. So the
right,
grant is coming from Gulzar Institute.
right, man, right.
We also have one query from Ms. Vishali. So you can go ahead.
Right. A very warm good afternoon to everybody here. Geeta ma'am, thank you so much for the wonderful insight. I mean, it's great to hear from you. I just want a small insight in the field of the evergreening that we are seeing. Like a lot of issue comes up with it. So, is that really a trouble for the intellectual properties domain or for the the patent system, or it's just a small concept altogether?
I think I'll pass this to Shweta.
Yes. The question was evergreening of patents. Am I
Yes, Shweta.
evergreening of patents? Yes. Ma'am Vaishali, patents in India, patents are not like evergreening of patents is not allowed in India. It is possible in US, but not possible in India.
I think Shweta, what we can do, we can discuss the concept of evergreening. I think that will make it clearer. What evergreening
Yes,
is actually.
evergreening. Yes, let me cite an example. In USA, what happens that we know that Disprin is there, and Disprin is used for headache. In US, what you can say that 20 years for Disprin, patent for Disprin has expired. What the company will do, the owner company, in the 19th year, it will file a patent citing that Disprin is also used for stomach ache or fever or something. So they will get a patent for this also. But in India, you cannot get a patent on the use. You get a patent for a product or process, but not for a different use, which is possible in US and not possible in India. So if you go to the Indian patent office and say, okay, I found that Disprin is, which was known for headache, uh, I have got a new use for it and it is now effective for the stomach ache. The Indian Patent Act will not allow a patent grant for this invention or this discovery, I might say. This will be used as this will be cited as an only discovery that you have already, this Disprin is already an existing product and you have cited a different use of it. So this will not be allowed by Indian Patent Act, but this will be allowed in the US. So by this manner, the US companies keep on evergreening their products, and that is why they are, US is always after the Indian government to amend its Indian Patent Act. And that is why the cost of medicine is cheaper. The medicines are cheaper in India and not in US. I hope I could clear it.
I hope the answer, this thing answers the query. I mean, the evergreening, it just as the name suggests, I mean, it's going to be, it's like a monopolistic right that would be vested into you because you have a patent. And the Indian concept is that this should not be allowed. So under the Indian Patent Act, Section 3D, it would not be allowed, and it'll be like just by a mere addition or a mere alteration into something would not allow you a patent. It has to be entirely new concept. So you cannot have a medicine and just add a hydrochloride to it, or say it's a nitrohydrophilic and then it is nitrohydrophilic hydrochloride to it. The purpose is the same, but then use the same name and say it is Disprin Plus or something, and then use it. So that is what evergreening would come into. I hope it is answered adequately. If there are more questions, we can take that.
Yeah, we have another query from Mr. Vishal.
Good
You can.
afternoon. So, sir, I want to add a question to it, like patents are country specific. Like in India, we file a patent, and do we require to file a patent in US also?
Yes, patents are territorial rights only, country specific, as you say.
Okay.
There is also one query in the chat box. How the copyright laws differ from the laws of intellectual property rights?
Well, they're the subset of that. So if they're engineering students, you need to draw a circle. I mean, if you remember one of these slides that Shweta ji opened up, she drew circles. So when you drew circles, so it's a Venn diagram. In the Venn diagram, the circle, the big circle, is your intellectual property right, and one of the subsets of that intellectual property right is copyright. So intellectual property right is like the central government, and then you have a Ministry of Human Resources and Ministry of this, and so they're sub parts of it. So that's probably the answer.
Actually, the copyrights fall under human resource government ministry.
Yes.
So any other query?
Do we have any more questions? Well, if there are no more questions, may I please at this stage request Dr. Ishbir Singh to please propose a vote of thanks. Are you there, Dr. Ishbir?
Yes, Ajay, I'm there. Well, it was an interesting eye-opener and motivating session. Thanks to Advocate Ms. Geeta Gulati and Dr. Shweta Sen for delivering the talk, sharing their knowledge, and taking the doubts of our valuable audience. And the mixed responses of the audience, like the kind of questions, the way you handled them, hats off to you, especially like they were asking copyrights or trademarks. So very well handled. That trademarks are normally related to logos. If I say T series launches a CD or a cassette, in which category it will come? Similarly, if I write a book of mechanical engineering, so obviously I'll be getting a copyright. And anybody who copies the content of my book for commercial use, that is a violation or infringement of the copyright. Otherwise, अब रोटी के लिए sweets के लिए Gopal Sweets never goes for any patent of the recipe. There are some exemptions, like pandemic is there, some exemptions are there. Whereas if I think about something that is my intellectual property, whether it is a design, sir, like Ajay you said, if I go for a design or an idea, I can get it patented. It may or may not be commercialized. Prototype may come or may not come in the market. But exact thing is, journey from idea to patent, where China and US are leading, and we were lacking. But thanks to giants like Mahindra, Tata, especially in mechanical engineering, they have matured their patents, come out with products, and completed the whole life cycle. So that is also an eye opener. And the ways commercial aspects were given, you gave the exposure of the commercial aspects, and the topics like trademark was covered, copyright, patents. So I think the whole target was met. The speakers very well justified and exposed our audience to the knowledge base, and I think more eye-opener sessions. I can request Ajay ji and the speakers to have more interactive sessions with our audience to carry on the series, because in this COVID era, a lot of things have come up, whether it is tunnels for sanitization or anything else, and the way pharma industry is coming up. So I think we can, like one of my students when I was in Chandigarh University came up with an idea. Sir, train की अगर सफाई करनी हो So without manpower, automate kar dein. So we worked on that and we got it. We actually filed the application and now it has been published also. So filing application, then to publishing and then to granting, there are 3 levels. So in that patent, we are on the 2nd level. So it has been published. And yes, anybody can challenge it. Again, ma'am has also said that territorial rights, yes. If a patent has been filed with the European Union, wherever European Union is having an agreement, patent will be filed in their jurisdiction. And if a Nike patent has been filed in US and I copy in Indian territory, then the laws may be different and patentability may or may not be challenged. Similarly, on the life cycle, ma'am has given a very good answer. Life cycle again depends upon the categories, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and exemptions, and then we can get it renewed. Suppose my book is having a life cycle of say 20 years, then after 20 years, if I want royalty, I need to extend the copyright and so on. Anyways, that's not my job. I'm here to thank the speakers and the organizers, especially Professor Ashish Bhateja from IISc Gulzar Group of Institutes, Rimneet ma'am for hosting the session, Ajay ji for not only acting as a moderator, sir, the way you have been intervening and guiding the students and all of us to maintain the decorum of the session and keeping us on the same platform. Thank you, Ajay ji. And special thanks to the speakers, both the speakers, Advocate Geeta Gulati ji and Dr. Shweta Sen. Thanks for your valuable presence and thanks to all the organizers and participants for listening to all of us patiently. So that's all from my side, and on behalf of everyone from PAT Chamber of Commerce and Gulzar Group of Institutes, I thank one and all for being present and gracing this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rimneet, would you want to please take over and close the session, please?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank Dr. Ishbir, sir, for your kind words. And also, sir, we can look forward to many more such interactive sessions. And we also plan to sign IPR MOU with you in some time. So we'll discuss with you on the same.
Most welcome.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So we can close the session, sir.
All right. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank
Geeta
you.
ma'am. Thank you, Shweta ma'am.
Bye.
And Gulzar Group. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
ma'am. Thank
Sumit,
you,
as
ma'am,
well.
for
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
Okay.